Are you ready for some great ZVP action?
As SpongeBob would say, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Alrighty, well, first up, spawning in the bottom left in the purple. Give it up for the Zerg from Team NV. It is DRG.
And spawning here at the top right. He's the red Protoss player. We just saw him. Looking for a different outcome to series. It is ZEST. So I apologize to everyone. I didn't quite get around to setting up the prediction poll, but I will set it up after this first game here, and hopefully that will get up and running afterwards. And also, I might have to quickly run a quick ad here on the Twitch after this series because I forgot to run it between the series, so don't want to have a commercial up and running once in the middle of the series. So yeah,
especially when we're having some cheese action play with a cannon rush coming through from ZEST.
Oh boy.
Yeah, does DRG actually see this? Okay, so he does see this and knows it's coming. Does get the cancel as the gateway, and now the cannon going to be going down. ZEST going to go into the main with the probe, just going to try to keep the Zerg busy while everything does become in here. Now this gets very annoying for DRG. He's going to go ahead and pull some more probes to try to deal with the cannons morphing in, but the cannon on the bottom ground is going to be the most difficult to deal with. Eventually with the gateway finishing up, we should start seeing some zealots, maybe eventually a stalker, but already DRG going into that Roach Warren and looking to eventually try to shut this down.
I am so shocked right now because I don't think ZEST is really known much as a cannon rusher, and so for him to pull this out in game one with a banger, I mean, he is looking for blood. I mean, he is like, I didn't have the greatest series, or I didn't have the preferred result last series. I'm gonna have a win this time around.
Yeah, definitely. I think ZEST was mad that we didn't have a poll prediction up, and he says, you know what, I'm going to make sure that they vote for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cannon rush. Isn't going to be able to get the natural, which is nice. There's the queen as well as the spine crawler coming through. 3 roaches are on the way, which are actually on the low ground. This is not too bad. It will allow him to eventually, clear up some of the cannons on the bottom. At the same time, should be able to go across if he wanted to. But look at all of these cannons and shield batteries coming out from ZEST. He's got that stalker on the way, and this just gets so difficult to have to deal with.
Yeah, now there is one huge Artosis pylon here at the ramp, but ZEST making sure, gonna go ahead and throw down a second pylon just in case the bows connect with that first Artosis pylon. And here we go, shield batteries are up, and the cannons are gonna get healed.
Yeah, as well as that pylon down on the low ground finally does get taken out. Second stalker getting chronoed out, and this just gets so much more tough for DRG to deal with. He does have those 4 Ravagers, which will help kind of take out some of the cannons. But at this point, with the shield batteries and everything, it really puts DRG in a tough spot. Now, thankfully for DRG, ZEST is not really doing anything behind this. He's just continuing making like warp gate tech and stuff like that. But he's not going into an expansion or anything, so it's basically as all-in as you can get at this point.
Now, really important to note, both probes did get taken out while the Ravagers were trying to go up the ramp. So right now there is no probe here to make any additional shield batteries or cannons. And looks like ZEST is not even sending out one. Oh wait, yeah, he did not send out another one. So he is going to go ahead and try to transition out of this.
Go. All right, looks like he's going to start going towards the shield batteries. Actually gets 3 buildings in one shot. It's a pretty good thing. We've got more queens coming through. Additional gateways going down. Looks like finally DRG going to be able to get out of it. GG. And DRG gets the victory. Alrighty. Spawning in the bottom left on 2,000 atmospheres. Give it up for the purple Zerg from Team Envy. It is DRG. the Dawn of Ragu.
And spawning here at the top right, we have our red Protoss playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming is ZEST. Oh, I see Gemini in the live chat. Welcome, welcome. Always great to see Gemini.
Oh yeah, Gemini definitely always a sight to see. It looks like. It seems like they've got some good discussions going on in the chat, so it's always fun to watch and see kind of the interactions going on. So there we go. All right, so it looks like ZEST going to be annoying with that probe, just trying to interrupt as much as possible with the mineral counts, as it is going to be a pool first. Or no, it's actually, excuse me, hatch first into pool. And looks like ZEST setting up for a more normal game. I am curious, though, do we see ZEST go into a Depths this game, or will we see him go into that kind of Stargate style? I think ZEST does favor going into the Oracles, if I remember correctly, and then transitioning from there. But we'll see.
I would say it is so hard to predict ZEST's build order in this specific matchup, PvZ, because I feel like out of all the matchups that there is in the Protoss arsenal, ZEST just seems to have like the most builds under her sleeves against Zerg. So yeah, it's so difficult to predict what kind of build order he is going to go for, and looks like it's going to be a Stargate.
Awesome. Alrighty, so gonna go into Stargate. I guess it's considered more of the meta now. It does then put the pressure here on DRG of where he wants to go. Does he want to go into that Roach Ravager style and try to overwhelm ZEST before he can really build up into the late game carriers, into Tempest, and stuff like that? Or will he go into maybe, Hydras? Or we have seen Zerg start using Swarm Hosts to try to take advantage of the slowness of the air units. I'm definitely curious to see where they're going to go with this. I think DRG is fond of using like the Swarm Host, Nidus kind of style, but we'll see. It is going to be an Oracle opening though from ZEST. Going to throw down those additional pylons and just making a handful of those Adepts. Going to eventually throw down some more gateways and go from there.
Yeah, now the thing about this is that, he opens up with a single Stargate, but it could definitely be turn into a 2 Stargate or 3 Stargate Void Ray play. Although as I see him making a second Oracle, it doesn't look like he is going to go for that mass Void Ray opening build. Instead, it's going to be just two Oracles, and probably going to transition into either a Depths or just go for a third base instead.
I actually wouldn't put it past it for ZEST to go into a third of the Oracles, and it does look like that's going to be what he is going to choose to go into. This opens up so much more possibility in the late game as well as the current, where he can come in, start sniping some more of those drones. If one of them gets loose or starts getting low, he can just kind of, throw the Oracle back, as well as will lead into the late game using those for Revelates, for Stasises and stuff like that. So will kind of help dictate some more of the pack. And while all of this is going down, we do see that third base coming out for ZEST. DRG starting to get that creep spread going, going to transition into Roaches, eventually get into some Ravagers, and we'll see kind of where he wants to go with that, as ZEST looking to push in now with a handful of Adepts.
Oh yeah, these Adepts don't have glaives, but they are going to be backed up with 3 Oracles behind it. And here we go. Not a lot of units, only Queens here out on the field.
Yeah, really nice. Starting to focus on one of the Queens. Not a lot of transfused energy, so these Queens are going to start evaporating as the Adepts do come in here. Now remember, they are not glaive Adepts. They are just regular ones, so not going to deal as much damage. Oracle does go down. He's actually lost 2 of them, so only 1 Oracle does remain. The Queens eventually will be able to push back this additional Oracle, or even just kill it. And it looks like ZEST eventually just going to go ahead and back up. But he now has to be careful of this counterattack with Flings. 9 drones altogether do go down. as well as 4 queens and 9 SEVs. Well, 13 total drones. So a lot of value coming out here from ZEST.
Yeah, for sure. And the good thing is that, you know, he forced DRG to make lings instead of roaches. So even all these lings right now, even if they were gonna try to attack the third base, all those adepts are not gonna let that happen. So all these lings that, you know, he ZEST forced DRG to produce, well, they're pretty much useless at the moment. So this is a great start for ZEST. A lot of efficient trades and a lot of value during that attack.
Definitely. And ZEST now going to go into glaives. He's added on, I think, like 5 more gates, 6 more gates. So that's going to allow him to start warping more and more of these adepts. Are going to be just perfect against these lings. Lings are going to go into the natural, though. Okay, it looks like he's going to back up.
Now, normally I would say that's like horrible, but he was greeted with a bunch of adepts, so it all worked out again.
Yeah, does look like DRG, though, is going to be transitioning into roaches. He's got that +1 and speed timing. The adepts just going to shade right on top of the queens. Going to be able to take them out. Now, these are fresh queens, so they don't have energy for transfuses. Just going to melt like butter. And it looks like ZEST is rearing himself to tie things up here in game number 2. Going to get on top of these roaches, get on top of the drones with the oracles. And we'll be able to start kind of pushing more and more, as that's going to start shading towards the natural and actually just come back and kill out the third. But this is a lot of adepts coming out from ZEST.
My goodness, 30 adepts versus 9, 10 roaches. Oh man, this is like an adept fest here.
Yeah. This is just not good. There is a nice little block of the Evo chamber, so unfortunately the adept's not going to be able to shade forward, so we'll have to back up. Gonna start trying to focus down the Roach Warren. Still has not taken out this third base. Just now takes it out, so that is a little bit annoying as more roaches are starting to come forward. 10 roaches are getting ready to spawn out, but more adepts coming through. Finally, the Oracle does get taken out, and these adepts just gonna shade on top of all of these roaches, and DRG in some serious trouble.
Well, if there was ever a roach rape here, it would be this. Well, anyhow, ZEST does take the second game and evens up the series.
Alrighty, spotting down in the bottom left in the purple. Give it up for DRG from Team Envy.
And spawning here at the top right, we have our red Protoss player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He's the best. He is ZEST. Well, certainly that last game, he proved that he was like the best at adept attacks, but we'll see if he does the same thing again this time around. Now, the bases here between like the natural, the third, the main, everywhere is pretty actually substantial in terms of the walking, in terms of the distance. So, glaive adepts actually wouldn't be the worst thing to pull off here.
Definitely. I wouldn't mind actually seeing him go into Archons. Or go into maybe like a DT play, since he has been playing kind of aggressive, kind of cheeky. I don't think DRG necessarily would expect going into like a DT into Archons kind of style, maybe get a War Prism and put on some pressure like that. Now, DRG has shown that he isn't afraid to go into roaches. And I think, you know, thinking into that for ZEST, you've got to be aware of, like, you know, the potential counters to what he is doing. But opening up into 3 oracles has been super good for him. And I'm excited to see where ZEST wants to go from here. Now, DRG is putting up an amazing fight. And I'm excited to see, does he continue into this kind of roach tech? Or does maybe he go into some kind of Spire tech? And do we actually get ourselves into a late game sometime?
Yeah, and also I wonder if DRG is going to go ahead and try to research the Overlord speed. We do see some Zergs do open up with Overlord speed just to get some nice scouting information, particularly on maps where the main base are wide or are large. So being that Oxide does have one of those large main bases, it wouldn't be too bad. It wouldn't be a bad idea to research Overlord speed and kind of dive in there and try to get some nice scouting information.
Definitely. I don't think DRG is one that usually will go into Overlord speed. There's some Zergs like, Rogue, Serral, even Raynor will go into that almost every game, it feels like. But DRG just going to be kind of scouting around with his Overlords slow. Let's take that third base, and we do have speed on the way. Looks like ZEST, though, going to be going into the Adept opening once again. This time going into Void Rays, so no Oracles coming out from ZEST. And that does make it a little bit challenging for DRG.
Yeah, now basically DRG is going to be in the blind. He's going to have to probably make some blind Spore Crawlers. Although maybe these links can get some nice scout information here, but he's not going to see a lot in the front. Going to see the 2 Adepts. Might be a good giveaway because, sometimes the Protoss opens up with Stalker behind the first Adept, but seeing that ZEST did open up with 2 Adepts, that might give a good indication that some of the gas, the extra 25 gas, is invested into something else. And oh, there we go. The link does spot the Void right here.
Yeah, this is good for DRG. Gives him enough time to eventually kind of throw in some Spore Crawlers, which he's doing already. Eventually go into Roach Warren, go up into that lair attack, and then kind of transition from there. And if ZEST does want to fully commit into this air attack army, then he can go into Spire, go into Corruptor, and kind of go from there. But so far, it looks like ZEST gonna go into more Stargates. He's got that second Stargate on the way, and we'll see how committed he is to this Stargate play. Now, because ZEST went into Stargate, and because it costs, a fairly good amount of minerals, of gas, to be able to kind of go into this air toss army, earlier on, DRG will have a little bit of an advantage to be able to make more units, to put on some pressure. We'll see if he can utilize that, or if he gives ZEST enough time to eventually just kind of build up into this late game kind of carrier-esque army.
Yeah. Now we also recently seen some weird build where the Protoss can also go for Tempest Rush. Now you don't usually see that. You probably see more carrier openings than Tempest, but it looks like so far ZEST is just committed to going for the Void Rays here. But he is going to transition to ground units as he is throwing down the Forge and the Twilight Council. So probably going to be either maybe charged lot maybe, or it could be maybe Glaive again. But I think Glaive attack would be pretty late at this point. So I'm guessing it's just going to be for charge. Yeah, there we go, charge.
Yeah, I definitely could see him transitioning into the Archives as well, going into that High Templar Archon-esque army with the charge, and then eventually just be able to storm. We'll see though how he wants to do this, as we do see the Queens coming across for DRG actually just kind of by themselves. I don't know if I necessarily agree this from DRG, but
I think I know what's happening here. The I guess more common response to Mass Void Rays is the Roach Ravager Queen push, and so usually the Protoss will make a bunch of shield batteries or cannons to defend against that. So he wants to force ZEST to overreact to this by throwing down a bunch of unnecessary buildings. And as you can see, ZEST starting to throw down all these cannon and shield batteries for an attack that might not come. But actually, it looks like DRG is going to change his mind. He's going to be producing a lot of roaches here. Well, I guess maybe he wanted to kind of line it up with roach speed, probably.
Yeah, I mean, even now getting the creep up to this point, so this will allow the roaches to come across a little bit quicker. He's got that +1, that speed roach almost done. This does give an opportunity, though, for ZEST to build into those Archons to get the +1 done, to get charged, as well as he's adding on another robotics facility, or adding a robotics facility on behind this. The Queen's, though, going to have enough for transfuses, trying to get on top of the Void Rays here. The big problem, though, is a lot of those roaches weren't attacking, they weren't in range, so didn't get as much damage. But I love this from DRG, clearing up the rocks, giving him more space to attack into this. And you know what? This is a perfect timing coming out here from DRG.
Yeah, there is so much Roach Ravagers on the ground. The army supply is heavily in favor of DRG, and the Zerg is going to do what's best. And do what he does best is to swarm the toss here. even that stasis war not going to go down. And GG, DRG with a strong push here will take game number 3. So there's a little bit of confusion in the chat, the live chat, as to whether that was a real queen walk or whether it's a fake one. And I initially thought it was a fake one because there was no units behind it, but after I think about it, I think in hindsight, hindsight is 2020, but I think in retrospect, the queens were probably there just to like start hacking on the rocks while the roach speed was trying to get done, and then that's why the roaches were a little bit late. And so what looked like a fake queen push turned out to be a real one, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think, when you do a push like that, you're trying to time it all out to where by the time the queens get across the map, your roaches and everything are there with the +1, with the speed. I think given that Oxide is a smaller map, the queens got there a little bit quicker. He realized that his stuff was not done. Now, I don't know if maybe that was a mistake on his part. Maybe they didn't get started as quickly. But eventually, he pulled back. He repositioned himself. He got the creep to where he needed to. Roaches and everything came across, and then he was eventually able to finally pull the trigger. And that is exactly what we saw him do. It could have been maybe to give the illusion of a fake one. Obviously, ZEST comes in with a Void Ray, sees that it's just queens, and then sees him kind of back off and says, okay, now I can go ahead and tech into this, or puts a little bit of a frantic into ZEST. And then behind that, we see DRG just pull the trigger with the Roach Ravager and just able to crush ZEST. So it was a really good play there coming out from DRG.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so insane because ZEST did have a lot of cannons and shield batteries. He made it in time, and yet DRG made that push so convincing. It wasn't even close at the end. And so I can't imagine if ZEST didn't have all those shield batteries and cannons, how one-sided it would have been during that fight. So that you can see why that I guess that counter build is so strong against Massive Void Rays. It just really forces the Protoss to defend absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, as we were saying, when you go into that style, you're going essentially tech heavy. So you're putting a lot of resources into building that up. And early on, you are more susceptible. I always have trouble saying that word, but to attacks. And so if your opponent gets wind of it, and especially if you're going into a double Stargate opening, if they can attack just in time, it makes it a little bit easier for the Zerg to get that damage done. So a lot of times we do see Protosses when they go into that certain style of going very shield battery heavy, sometimes throwing down cannons just to try to deal with it. And here we go in game number 4 with ZEST going into a double Stargate with the Fleet Beacon, kind of going into partings, really quick, Carrier Tempest style play.
Yeah, ZEST is a madman, and he's also a genius at the same time. And these are some of the reasons why, because these you don't typically see this coming out of any common Protoss. This is going to be very, very cheeky here. Now, it's going to be up to DRG to smell this out and respond to this correctly. And it looks like it is going to be the Tempest, the 2 Tempest rush here.
Yeah, this is just so good. And he's going to take a third base behind this as well. Just insane from ZEST. As he does have those first Tempests making their way across the map. We'll look and see how many Tempests he wants to go to. Maybe transitions into carriers behind this. But as he goes across, he's getting that Twilight Council. He's getting the Forges to be able to start getting those cannons and such. And we'll see how much pressure he can put on here. Now, the Tempests do outrange the Spore Crawlers. They outrange the Queens. But it looks like he's just going to try to focus down onto the drones. I mean, it's one shot, one kill. It's basically a Widowmaker from Overwatch. Just let me just get some headshots here, and we'll just go ahead and make it a day.
The other Tempest here is on the top side. It was a little bit slow here to come out of the gate, but will finally make its way into the main base. While all the queens here are busy with the initial Tempest at the third base, this one lone queen is going to attempt to take on this Tempest.
Yeah, it's just insane. ZEST coming in from every angle. Now, he's not fully committing to this. He's only made those couple. He's only made the 2, and then he has a Void Ray with it. Transitioning more into a Gateway army. Now, this is going to provide a response from DRG. We already see him going up into the Hydra's den. He's getting very Hydra heavy. And then we're going to see ZEST come in with Immortals. We're going to see him come in with potentially like Heavy Zealot. Eventually go into the Archives and then get Storm and just completely crush what DRG has. So DRG needs to scout this out.
Oh, those 8 gateways are close to finishing up. Blink is halfway done. We should see a lot of units, a lot of Stalkers in particular, being warped in, and I would expect a move out pretty soon. While the numbers of Hydralisks and Roaches aren't that high at the moment, ZEST might be able to make a nice timing attack really work out here.
Yeah, this is just insane. Very Sentry heavy right now. Blink almost done. +1 about finished up. There is an Observer that is being made as well. The Immortal is going to get some damage done. Guardian Shields going off while the Force Fields are separating the army of DRG a little bit here. DRG still fighting, finally trying to get into range of this army. Does actually kill off a couple of sentries there. Going to come around from the back looking for a surround here onto ZEST's army. But ZEST going to go ahead and move back, gets another beautiful force field down, warps in a huge amount of Stalkers, and it will make a few Zealots as well. That War Prism is alive, and it's going to continue to be able to warp in and keep the pressure up. DRG with those Stalkers, or excuse me, with the Ravagers and the Hydras, going to continue to try to put pressure, even bringing the Queen's 4 Transfuses. But I think he realizes it might be a little bit too ambitious and we'll have to back up, using those Corrosive Biles to kind of get some separation and force the Blinks out from ZEST.
Oh, it looks like DRG looks like he was about to commit, but I'm not quite. I don't think he's like quite ready yet, or doesn't feel quite comfortable yet. Maybe he's waiting for the upgrade to finish. But I mean, he does have the Creeper ready here, touching on the Protoss base. So
I mean, behind this, he is transitioning into Lurker Den. He's got Infestation Pit, so looking to go up into Hive Tech and start getting those upgrades for the Lurkers. And you know what? Against this heavy Stalker composition, I don't mind it at all. We do see the Robotics Bay coming out now for ZEST, so he is looking to go into like Disruptors behind this. And I think, you know what, on a map like Beckett Initiative where there's a lot of close corners, I think, you know what, Disruptors are a good call to kind of counteract this, but still very worried here for ZEST. I mean, he is going Stalker heavy, but against this very heavy Roach Hydra composition, makes it very tough.
Yeah, Force Field trying to buy him some time here, trying to segment out some of these units. But is there enough? A lot of these Stalkers are trying to blink back in, but numbers seems to be dwindling down. But a nice arc here, actually, for ZEST. However, is it going to be enough in the end?
I don't think so. With additional Roaches, Ravagers, or excuse me, Roaches and Hydras coming through, it's going to get a GG out, and DRG impressing us all and winning the series 3-1.